Welcome to Real Rundown. In today's video, we're going to describe a drama movie called The Gifted, released in 2017. But before we delve into the storyline, remember to like and subscribe for more recaps, and have a great day! A young mathematician entrusts her daughter to her brother before taking her own life. Later, the mathematician's mother attempts to gain custody of the girl through legal means. Will she succeed? Can the girl have a regular life, or will her future be like her mother's? Stay tuned to find out. The story starts with Frank waking up Mary for her new school. Mary is upset because she doesn't want to go. She wants Frank to keep teaching her at home, but he says he's already taught her everything he knows. He thinks she needs the experience of going to school and meeting new people. Before leaving, Mary says goodbye to her beloved one-eyed cat, Fred. Mary then gets on the school bus, and as Frank finishes saying goodbye, his neighbor Roberta calls him. He tries to ignore her, but she follows him into the house. Roberta tells Frank to get in his car and bring Mary back before it's too late. She cares a lot about Mary and is worried that she won't fit in because she's more advanced than other kids of her age. Frank explains that Mary needs friends and social skills and that experiencing a normal life is important for her. Roberta isn't convinced, but she decides to drop the issue. At school, Mary feels really bored because her teacher Bunny is teaching basic addition problems meant for first graders. Mary ends up answering a question without being asked, saying that these things are too easy and one should know them. Bunny, wanting to challenge Mary, starts giving her more and more difficult math problems. To everyone's surprise, Mary answers even advanced multiplication and square root problems. After recess, the principal visits Bunny's class. Bunny introduces her to the students, and when Mary finds out she's the boss, she demands that the principal call Frank right away to get her out of there. Bunny meets him in the front yard and tells him she thinks Mary might be a gifted child. Frank explains that it's because of a special method, the Trachtenberg method, that he taught her, which helps her solve math problems quickly. He learned it when he was 8, so there's nothing particularly gifted about it. Frank walks away before Bunny can discuss the matter further with him. Bunny remains unconvinced, so she turns to the internet for more information. She discovers that Mary's mom, Diane, was not only a math genius, but was also working on one of the Millennium Prize problems, the Navier-Stokes equation. Diane seemingly took her own life and left behind her daughter Mary to her brother Frank. Armed with this newfound knowledge, Bunny seeks out Frank at the bar she learned about through a friend. Confronting him, she accuses Frank of lying to her. In response, Frank decides to share the truth about his sister. He explains that Diane showed up unexpectedly at his doorstep one night with baby Mary. Diane expressed a need to talk, but Frank, already running late for a date, suggested they discuss it later when he returned. When Frank returned home, he found that Diane had tragically taken her own life in the bathroom, leaving behind baby Mary in his living room. Since that heartbreaking day, Frank has been raising Mary for a year and a half. One day on the school bus, Mary notices a kid with a zoo model and appears to really like it. However, some other kids cause the model to be destroyed. Mary stands up for the victim, bravely confronting the bully, who is 5 years older than her, and breaking his nose. After the incident, Frank is called in by Principal Davis. While considering the option of expelling Mary, Principal Davis suggests offering her a scholarship to attend the Oaks Academy for Gifted Education, given Mary's exceptional intellect. However, Frank declines the offer, believing that Mary needs a normal education and childhood rather than a specialized environment. The principal then contacts Evelyn, who is Frank's mother and Mary's grandmother. Evelyn arrives at Frank's door shortly afterward and meets Mary for the first time. She's a wealthy and assertive English woman, and it's clear that she and Frank have different views on life and ambitions. Evelyn brings gifts for Mary, including a Mac laptop. She criticizes Frank's lifestyle choices and insists on taking Mary with her to Boston. When Frank disagrees, Evelyn takes him to court. In a later meeting, she expresses disappointment in her deceased daughter for not completing the Navier-Stokes equation, considering her too weak. Evelyn also scolds Frank for leaving his professorship at Boston University. While Frank doesn't openly accuse her of anything, he insists that Evelyn's influence would deprive Mary of the normal childhood she needs. He also says that his role as a freelance boat repairman is a perfectly suitable way to provide for Mary. In the court hearings, Roberta stands by Frank's side throughout the ordeal, and his lawyer effectively defends him. Evelyn's lawyer, Highsmith, argues that Frank's living conditions are not good. He points out that Frank lacks life insurance and resides in a small house without a separate room for Mary. Frank's lawyer counters these claims by arguing that Evelyn never truly cared for her daughter and did not provide support. Meanwhile, Frank and Bonnie find themselves developing feelings for each other and getting to know one another. Frank confides in Bonnie, revealing that his greatest fear is not being able to provide the right kind of life for Mary. Evelyn takes Mary to Boston for 2 days. She shares stories about Mary's mom and talks about her own life, mentioning that she gave up a career in math to get married and have kids. While in Boston, Mary meets Evelyn's colleague, Seymour Shankland, who's working on an equation. Mary seems confused, but Shankland dismisses it, thinking she's too young to understand. Later, Mary says she's confused because Shankland's equation is wrong and solves it herself. Meanwhile, Frank and Bonnie continue to see each other and make love. Mary starts talking to a psychologist named Pat Golding. Pat learns that Mary doesn't have friends her age and sees Roberta as her closest friend. Pat gets worried when Mary mentions watching UFC fights with Roberta every week. Upon returning from Boston, Mary tells Frank that she doesn't want to live with Evelyn because she's too bossy. Frank reassures her, promising that he won't let anyone take her away. In the next court hearing, Mary's biological father, Bradley Pollard, testifies in favor of Evelyn. Colin questions Bradley about his lack of involvement in Mary's life, highlighting that he doesn't even know her middle name. Colin argues that Bradley has never shown interest in Mary, never asked for her, and has never made an effort to find her, suggesting he shouldn't have any right to choose a guardian. The judge rules against Bradley having any custody rights. When Mary learns about her father's presence, she breaks down in tears over his lack of effort to visit her. To lift Mary's spirits, Frank and Roberta take her to the hospital to witness a family awaiting the birth of a new child. When they find out it's a boy, the family cheers. Frank tells Mary that it was similar to when she was born, and he was the one who stepped out to deliver the happy news. Colin later visits Frank's home and shares that he and the judge have agreed on a deal. Mary will be placed in foster care until she turns 12, at which point she can decide where to live. Colin expresses concern that they might lose the case, and Frank could lose full custody of Mary. Feeling the weight of guilt over not staying with Diane the night of her death and doubting his ability to raise Mary, Frank reluctantly agrees to the deal. Frank meets the foster parents, sees their nice home and family, and leaves Mary there. Their goodbye is tearful, with Mary pleading for Frank not to leave her. Heartbroken, Frank walks away, but when he later tries to visit Mary, the foster father informs him that she doesn't want to see Frank. Frank, devastated but determined to do what's deemed best for Mary, continues with life. One day, Bonnie notices a poster at the animal shelter featuring Fred, Mary's cat, among adoptable pets. She informs Frank, who rushes to the shelter and rescues Mary's cat just before she is scheduled to be put down. Frank discovers from the shelter's front desk that the cat was brought in due to allergy issues, and he quickly realizes it's Evelyn who's allergic to cats. He makes a brief stop at his place and then rushes to the foster family's home with Roberta to confront Evelyn. As suspected, she's in the guest house with Mary and 2 tutors. Upon seeing Frank, Mary becomes angry and runs away, refusing to talk to him. After tossing a file onto the desk, Frank urges Evelyn to look at it. Despite her efforts to follow, Roberta physically blocks her path. Frank apologizes to Mary, who eventually forgives him, embraces him, and is overjoyed to find her cat safe at Frank's place. When Mary and Frank return to the guest house, Roberta takes Mary to the car, and Frank dismisses the tutors. It's revealed that the file contains the finished proof for the Millennium Prize problem, the Navier-Stokes equation, which Diane had been working on. Evelyn expresses disbelief, stating that Diane would have shared it with the world. Frank explains that Diane gave him clear instructions to wait to publish it until after their mother's death. He offers Evelyn the choice to publish it herself, but warns her that it would be a lengthy process, leaving her with little time for Mary in the future. Upon Evelyn's inquiry, Frank reveals that if she refuses, he will take the folder away and wait to publish it until after Evelyn dies. Shocked and in tears, realizing her mistake, Evelyn reluctantly accepts the deal. In the end, Frank regains custody of Mary, and she is allowed to have a normal childhood and education while also taking college courses. Mary is shown attending university classes in the mornings and elementary school in the afternoons. And that's the end of today's recap. Hope you enjoyed it. See you in the next video.